Walking slowly along the stone path, Wei Wuxian suddenly noticed a fragrant scent wafting towards him. He turned his head to look and saw a pretty figure passing by. A girl dressed in light clothing was walking hastily, her skirts fluttering hurriedly. A small object dangling from her waist shook a few times and rolled to the ground. Wei Wuxian bent down to pick it up. It was a small, delicate, and charming sachet, seemingly the source of the earlier fragrance. His spirits lifted, and he couldn't help but glance at the girl's figure a couple more times. After those glances, he indeed brightened up. Immediately, he spun like a small whirlwind to catch up with the girl, walking backward while saying, "Mianmian, is that right?" The girl named Mianmian recognized him after a moment and said uncertainly, "Young Master Wei? That's me. Look, what is this?" He made the small sachet appear like a magic trick. Mianmian was startled and reached for her waist, her delicate eyebrows furrowing as she glanced at Wei Wuxian. "Did I drop it or did you steal it?" Wei Wuxian responded with surprise. Mianmian, falsely accusing a good person just like that. He tossed the sachet in his hand for a moment, raised an eyebrow, and drawled lazily. "Doing a good deed only to be wronged, wouldn't that be a big loss? This sachet might as well not return it." Mian was left speechless. She wanted to avoid him, but with her personal belonging in his hands, she feared he might make a big deal out of it, making it impossible to clear her name. Yet, looking at his suspicious and ill-intentioned demeanor, she also didn't know how to ask for it back. She was caught in a dilemma, not knowing what to do. Wei Wuxian usually had a frivolous and roguish demeanor. When school first started, he often amused the young ladies, and whenever Lan Wangji caught him doing so, he would drag him away with a stern face. It seemed the strict discipline eventually made him behave better. But today, for some unknown reason, the old mischief resurfaced. The sachet spun swiftly around his finger, and his crescent-shaped peach blossom eyes sparkled. He touched his chin, pretending to ponder, and said, "Unless." Mianmian's eyes brightened up. "Unless what?" Wei Wuxian leaned closer to her, his tone teasing. "Unless you tell me your name, I'll return this sachet to you." Mianmian's eyes widened in surprise. "You're already a married man. Why are you still so improper? Where is second young Master Lan? Isn't he keeping an eye on you today?" As the two walked on, one persistently jesting in a lively tone, the other flustered and awkwardly responding, they happened to turn past a latticed window wall and stepped into a small courtyard. The clamor in their ears suddenly quieted, replaced by a gentle breeze and the rustling of tree shadows. Looking up, they saw lush green branches and leaves canopying over the courtyard walls, casting a refreshing shade. Wei Wuxian suddenly looked at her with a serious expression, his eyes unblinking. "Mian, may I kiss you?" His expression didn't seem like he was joking. Wei Wuxian was extremely handsome to begin with, his eyebrows and eyes naturally having a subtle curve, making him look charming and approachable even without a smile, sweet without being coquettish, charming without being lewd. At this moment, his slightly arched eyebrows made him look even more alluring, like an illusory peach blossom, exuding a teasing tenderness. Mianmian was so entranced that she stood still, staring at him. Jiangcheng and Nihuaisang, watching Wei Wuxian tease the prettiest girl in class, thought to themselves that this person was courting disaster once again. Instinctively, they looked around. Lan Wangji stepped out from the orchid room, and it felt as if an unknown cold light from a frigid pool flashed through the summer heat, sending chills down everyone's spines. In the blink of an eye, the space around him emptied. Nihuaisang's heart was pounding frantically. He pulled Jiangcheng and positioned themselves in the middle of the main road, forming a line with Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian, standing in the center in an attempt to block Lan Wangji's line of sight. Jiangcheng was pulled into position, realizing that he had become a human shield. He was visibly displeased, his mouth twitching slightly. Seeing Wei Wuxian's flamboyant display, he felt a headache coming on and sensed trouble looming. Reluctantly, he cooperated with Nihuaisang. Lan Wangji was initially going to leave, but when his gaze swept over the two of them, they pretended to be casual, looking around nonchalantly. Their conspicuous actions, akin to hiding a leaf in the forest, only drew Lan Wangji's attention even more. Lan Wangji's gaze inadvertently swept past the two peculiar figures, locking onto the figure moving backward with animated expressions. He paused slightly, a thin layer of frost quickly enveloping him. "Hey," Nie Huaisang flicked his paper fan open and shut, about to signal to Wei Wuxian, when Lan Wangji, as severe as a winter's icy wind, swept through the courtyard. Mianmian, falsely accusing a good person just like that, doing a good deed only to be wronged, wouldn't that be a big loss? This sachet, might as well not return it. Wei Wuxian was completely unaware of the situation, continuing to flirt shamelessly without a care in the world. "Unless you tell me your name, I won't return the sachet to you." Everyone around who saw Lan Wangji felt extremely anxious and tense. As Wei Wuxian's figure disappeared behind the wall with the decorative window, Lan Wangji followed without hesitation. As soon as he stepped into the side courtyard, he heard Wei Wuxian's voice. "Mianmian, may I kiss you?" Lan Wangji's steps halted. Wei Wuxian did not notice that a third person had entered. He took a step closer to Mianmian, and the hand holding the sachet slowly loosened its grip. The now unimportant sachet gently fell to the ground as that hand pressed against the wall behind Mianmian, trapping her within his arms. Their heads drew closer and closer. Mianmian, who had initially frozen in place, was so startled by the stern gaze cast from nearby that she almost jumped. Then, her eyes darted back and forth between the two of them. At this moment, Wei Wuxian finally noticed Lan Wangji. Their gazes crossed unintentionally, but it seemed as though Wei Wuxian had seen something irrelevant. He awkwardly turned his attention back, continuing to approach Mianmian. Mianmian, flustered and overwhelmed, took a step back and let out a small cry before running away. "Mianmian, wait!" Wei Wuxian reached out to grab her, but was almost thrown off balance by a sudden gust of wind from behind. Before he could steady himself, his entire body was forcefully dragged away. "You—" Lan Wangji didn't say a word, gripping Wei Wuxian's arm tightly with unprecedented roughness. "Lan Zhan, let go of me." Wei Wuxian was startled, feeling as if his bones were being crushed. He flailed wildly, trying to break free. Wei Wuxian didn't struggle for long before the two of them clumsily entangled together. Suddenly, Lan Wangji halted and turned to face Wei Wuxian, his icy and terrifying gaze fixed on him. The curse words that Wei Wuxian was about to utter got stuck in his throat. He realized he had never seen Lan Wangji so angry before. Suddenly feeling guilty, Wei Wuxian stammered, What exactly do you want to do?" "Let go of me first." He squirmed and struggled for a while, but Lan Wangji remained motionless, only gripping Wei Wuxian tighter, as if it were a punishment, as if he was so angry that he was at a loss for words, or as if he didn't know what to do with him. Seeing Lan Wangji's expression, Wei Wuxian also fell silent, and a tense silence spread between them. After a long time, Lan Wangji finally spoke, his chest slightly heaving. "You can't." Wei Wuxian was stunned, his eyes widening slightly as if he saw something in those clear, glassy eyes that he had never seen before. "You can't like someone else." Lan Wangji's voice was slightly unsteady, whether from anger or something else. Wei Wuxian was taken aback, and beneath that layer of anger, he could see a mix of heartbreak, unease, and fear. Why? Before he could finish his sentence, his confidence diminished. Wei Wuxian felt like punching himself hard. Why did Lan Wangji's gaze make him feel like he was the one who had done something wrong? Clearly, he was the one who didn't want me. I've said it before, between us, we may be married in name, but in reality, we're just ordinary friends. Why can't I like someone else? Lan Wangji's grip on Wei Wuxian's hand was so tight that his knuckles turned white. Wei Wuxian winced in pain, letting out a groan, and gave him a fierce glare. Lan Wangji remained unmoved and said word by word, "We are married." His tone was so solemn and forceful, leaving no room for argument, that Wei Wuxian was rendered speechless. It seemed like a while before he managed to process the words, "Although we are married, in reality, it's in name only. Do you think I'm so foolish that I don't know you don't like me?" Lan Wangji was stunned.